Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am excited to bring you a review and tutorial on the brand new Naked palette from Urban Decay. This is the Naked Cherry palette. I have had mine for several days now, been playing with it, and I feel like I'm finally ready to share my thoughts with you. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the packaging. I'll show you some swatches. We'll go through each color. I will show you a mini tutorial on this eye look that I'm wearing here, and then just wrap it up and give you kind of my final thoughts on how I feel like the palette has performed overall. So if you're interested in learning more about this palette, then just keep on watching. This palette retails for $49. The outer packaging is just as beautiful as the actual palette itself. It is the similar packaging as their previous two, the Smoky palette and the Naked Heat palette, where it has that kind of acrylic layer, but then there is this image behind it. And this one has a row of cherries, each in a color that matches the shadows inside. And then it has raised rose gold lettering. And then it has a very, very strong magnetic closure. On the inside, we have a full-length mirror. It comes with a dual-ended brush. This end is dirty because I used it today in this tutorial, but I love how they changed the detail and made the center of it this kind of lucite, pink lucite color on the handle. So love the brush, really nice and soft, and I especially love the pencil brush they put on this end. Now the shadows inside, there are 12 shadows. This is the typical layout for all of their Naked palettes. There are 7 mattes and 5 shimmers. And I just want to run through real quick some swatches here for you. I've got them swatched on my hand. As we go through the swatches, I'll give you kind of the Urban Decay's description of the colors, and if I feel like it's not quite accurate, I'll let you know. Okay, so starting off here at the top, this one, it's kind of hard to see on my skin because I'm so pale right now, but this is Hotspot, and it is an ivory matte. Next to it is Caution, and that is a soft neutral beige matte. Next is Bang Bang, and it says it's a shimmering pink with gold shift and iridescent micro sparkle. And I would say that is very accurate. This is one you'll see me use in the tutorial today. And this is the only one of the shimmers that I felt like really needed a little extra help with a wet brush or applying with your fingers. Next up we have Feels, and this is a soft dusty rose matte, my absolute favorite crease color. Next is Juicy. It's a soft warm peach, and they don't say it is a matte, but it's a matte. It performs just like a matte. I mean, maybe if you look really closely, there might be a slight little bit of a pearl finish, but I really can't hardly detect that at all. So it performs like a matte to me. Next it's called Turn On, and this is a pale metallic rose shimmer. Now in the palette, that is this color right here, and at first glance it just looks like a beigey champagne color, but it has this beautiful pink shift to it when you actually apply it to your eyes. I love this color, another one of my favorites. Next is Ambitious. This is a metallic rose copper, beautiful shade. Then we have Bing, which is a deep mauve matte. And I would almost say this is more of a purple matte. This has much more purple tones than pink. So I always think of mauve as being more on the more neutral side. This has a lot of purple kind of brightness to it. Then we have Devilish, a reddish plum matte. Beautiful, one of my absolute favorites. Young Love, which is a metallic cranberry. And I would say this has a little more fuchsia in it than cranberry. It doesn't come off, it's a little brighter to me than cranberry. Drunk Dial, who comes up with these names? Deep metallic burgundy. And this just has a really soft metallic finish. It's not overly sparkly, and I actually used this color as well today. And then the final color, Privacy, which is a deep brownish plum matte, and another one of my absolute favorites. So as I went through the swatches, you can definitely tell this palette has that kind of pinkish purplish hue. So if you are not somebody who loves these kinds of tones, you're probably not going to love this palette. However, as I have been using this over the last several days, I've created several different looks, and I've been surprised that you can create some more neutral leaning eye looks than you may have thought. I mean, if you just cover up like these 3 shades right here, those shades right here are not overly like too out there, too wild and crazy. So I do think you can do some daytime looks with this palette, and I'll show you a couple of looks here that I created using this. The first one, I used Turn On in the crease, which is that beautiful pinky champagne color. I used Devilish and Privacy in the outer corner, Feels in the crease, and then for all of these looks, I've been using Hotspot and Caution right here, kind of mixed as a nice brow bone highlight color. Yesterday, I chose to do an all matte look, and I wanted to just see how the mattes performed and throughout the day. So I did Devilish, a little bit of Bing, Privacy, and then a little bit of Feels, and then Hotspot and Caution. And as you can see, I felt like the colors all blended well. They weren't patchy or anything. Now the other look that I created, which I forgot to take a picture of, I used the color Ambitious, and then I used Privacy in the outer corner, and that came off really as a much more brownish toned eye look. So overall, I do feel like this palette has a little more versatility than you might initially think when you first see it. Now, some of you might be looking at this palette going, well, how does it compare to Naked Heat? Because Naked Heat was also a very warm palette. So I thought it would be kind of fun to see those two side by side. And as you can see, hopefully, Naked Heat here on the bottom, yes, it does have some of those reddish plum tones, but everything is very rusty, kind of orangey toned compared to the Naked Cherry palette, which definitely has more pinks and kind of mauve leaning shades. Now, speaking of mauve, I was curious how it compared to Naked 3, which was one of my absolute favorites when it came out because it was pinks and purples, and as you will see here, they're quite different. I think it's kind of funny because when this one came out, everybody was kind of thinking, I mean, you either loved it or hated it because it had a lot of pink leaning tones, and a lot of people were critical of it not being super neutral. But now we see, compared to Naked 6, it actually looks very neutral. So the Naked 3 palette is definitely much softer and paler. The Naked Cherry palette, they've actually given us a lot more deeper hued shades and actually a lot more mattes than they used to include in their Naked palettes, which I appreciate. Okay, now we're going to jump into the mini tutorial on this look that I created, and then I'll wrap up this video with some final thoughts. To start off our look today, we're starting with primed eyelids, and I'm going in with a combination of the color Hotspot and Caution on my Morphe M208 and taking that right along the brow bone. And now I'm going in with the Morphe M504 and that 4th shade in called Feels. This is a beautiful mid-tone mauve pink color that I think is just beautiful in the crease and as a transition shade. So I'm just really blowing that shade out so it's nice and diffused. I'm also rounding out the corner, taking it just a little bit below the outer portion of the lower lash line, and then just making sure the edges are really soft. Now going in with my Morphe M433, I'm going in with a deeper shade, which is Devilish, another matte shade, and this is another one of my favorites. It's just a beautiful cherry / cranberry red shade. I just love it. It has a little bit of brown in there, so I think that helps it from becoming too bright, but I'm just placing this in the outer corner and only going about halfway into the crease. Okay, now it's time to darken the outer corner of the upper lashes. And I'm starting with the Urban Decay eyeliner pencil in the color Stag. It's just a really dark brown shade, and any eyeliner you have will work. And I am just wedging this in the outer corner and then tapering it down towards the center of the lash line. And this doesn't have to be precise because we're going to go over and blend it out here with the brush that comes in the palette. I'm using the pencil brush and just really diffusing that upper lash line and then smudging it a little bit closer to the inner corner, and then taking the outer corner and pulling it up just a little bit towards the crease. Now we're going to go in for some upper rim eyeliner, and I'm using the Waterline pencil by Urban Decay in the color Rail. And the reason why I'm doing this is it's a little less intense than doing a liquid eyeliner on the top of the lash line, but I think it's important with these purpley pinky shades to do a really nice kind of neutral, either black or brown or neutral shade along the lash line, and that will help your eyes not look like they're tired or sick. Now we're going to go in with that pencil brush and top off that eyeliner with the shade Privacy. And I'm not only going over where we put that eyeliner, but I am further diffusing that line and pulling this shade across the lid and then up into the outer corner and towards the outer part of the crease. Now taking the Real Techniques Instapop shade brush, we're going in with the color Drunk Dial. This is a beautiful plummy bronze shade, and I took it about halfway across the lid, but we're going to dial back the drama here in a moment once we do the rest of our lid shade. But this is a really pretty shade, just a slight bit of hint of some shimmer, but I just pressed that about halfway over, didn't take it into the crease. And now I'm going to go back with the Morphe M506 and a little bit more of the Privacy shade and further diffuse that outer corner and bring this up just a little bit further in the outer corner. And then going back with the Morphe M433 and some of that Devilish shade. Going to go over right where the end of Privacy ends, and we're going to press this or blend this into our crease here to further diffuse that outer corner. And then it's time for the lid shade. So I'm starting off with the shade Bang Bang on my Sigma E60. But you will see here it wasn't laying down a whole lot of product. So then I went in with my finger, and that helped apply a little bit more, but I wanted it to pop a little bit more than it was. So I took, this is the Smashbox Primer Water. You can use any setting spray that you have. And I just sprayed my brush and then went over that shade, and it really took that pink shade up a notch and made it much more metallic and just really beautiful. And you can see by pulling that about 2/3 of the way across the lid, helped dial back the drama a little bit. And then I took my Morphe M433, like always, just kind of blending the edge of that and then going back with a little more of feels in the crease to make sure there's no harsh lines. And then I took my Morphe M504 and a little bit of the Juicy shade because I wanted just a hint of warmth around the top edge of the crease and transition colors. And I thought that added just a nice little touch and a little added dimension. Now, if you feel like you lost any intensity, you can go back with a little more of that Drunk Dial shade. And then it's time to address the lower lash line. I'm using the NYX Faux Blacks pencil in the color Oxblood. It's a beautiful, rich red color. And I'm smudging this about halfway across and then using my finger to diffuse it. And now it's time to take my favorite Morphe M432 brush and a little bit of Privacy. And I'm using this right next to the lower lash line and connecting it with the outer corner of the upper lash line. And I think this really helps that liner just stay in place. And then it's time to further smudge out that lower lash line. And I'm going to use the e.l.f. Precision Smudge Brush and some of that Feels shade. I'm putting this about halfway across and connecting it again to the outer corner. More diffusing going on here. And then I'm going to go in with a combination of Juicy and Caution and take this towards the inner corner and further diffuse it. And now it's time to address the lower waterline. You can either go in with that dark shade Rail, or what I'm doing here, I'm using the Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Highlighter. And I think this really helps your eyes look a little more awake and not sick and tired. And now I'm going in with the Sigma E30 and some of that Hot Spot shade. Now, this is a matte highlighting shade, and you know me, I prefer a shimmery inner corner highlight. So I will go in a moment with my face highlighter and do that. But I wanted to show you that you can do a matte highlighter along the brow bone and in the inner corner, and it looks fine. But I wanted to take it up a notch, and so I used the Balm Mary Luminizer highlighter, one of my all-time favorite products. And this not only works well on the face, but also on the inner corner. Then add our mascara, and the look is complete. So hopefully you could see in that tutorial, all of these shadows really perform very well. All of the matte shades, as you're putting them on your eyes, you will be surprised at how easy they blend out. When I was swatching two of the colors, Privacy and Devilish, those two to the touch feel a little drier in consistency, but as you saw me put them on the eyes, they blend beautifully. Most of the other mattes are all like super buttery to the touch. I didn't have excessive amounts of fallout, but I did have some, as you saw. So I do recommend, especially with these colors, to do your eyes first before you do your concealer. Many times people think that they can't wear these tones on their eyes without looking sick or like their eyes are irritated, but hopefully you're not watching me going, yeah, her eyes look sick and irritated. So hopefully you can see that these colors don't have to be scary if you incorporate a couple of the tips that I gave you along the way in the tutorial, and if you really make sure you conceal well under your eyes. I think you might be surprised how beautiful these colors can look on your eyes. So overall, I'm a huge fan not only of the packaging, but the colors. To me personally, they're very inspiring. I just love wearing colors like this. And right now going into fall, winter, and I think this palette will even transition nicely into spring and summer next year. I think I'm going to get a lot of use out of this palette. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope for those of you who were wondering if this was a palette for you, hopefully I gave you enough information in this video to help you make that decision. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye.